Hey guys, welcome back to Friends and Enemas. My name's Lindsey. I'm your host. Who do I have with me?
I'm Jen Crow. I'm a nurse from Alaska, and I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Speaking of Alaska, that's crazy to me. I bet you hear that a lot though. Like anytime you meet someone from over here, I don't know, the mainland. I don't know. Yeah. Is it called the mainland from Alaska too?
We call it the lower 48.
Okay, the lower 48. When you meet one of us, we're like, oh, you're from Alaska? Because I feel like we don't meet a lot of Alaskans.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of us.
Yeah.
Our population is growing up there, but it's a beautiful place. And whenever I say I'm like from Alaska, people are like, oh my God, you're from Alaska.
You're like, okay, chill out.
Yeah, it's really cold. So
stay where you're at.
Yeah.
You're from Alaska, born and raised?
I was born there. We moved a little bit out Washington in Colorado when I was younger, and then we moved back.
Very cool.
And so I lived up there like most of my young teen years, all the way up until like now I'm in my 40s.
You don't look it, so
thank you.
I feel like the holistic medicine's working.
Yes, it is. And no sun for your skin. So
there you go. Yeah. Those things will do it. Yeah. So nursing in Alaska, can you tell us a little bit about your background with nursing, when you became a nurse and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah. So growing up, my dad had leukemia, and so that was a big part of my childhood. We were always, in the medical arena, basically. And so that's kind of what inspired me to get into healthcare. I didn't realize it until I was in my late or mid-20s, that's what I wanted to do with my life, is to, do something in service of others and, become a nurse. I had a coworker. I was working for the court system up in Anchorage, and I had this older security guard, and his wife was a nurse in the Commission Corps, and he couldn't say enough good things about it. And I had just had my son and was like, I need a career. Like, I need a real career that I can be proud of, that my kid can be proud of his mom for. And so that's why I became I literally just quit, reinvented myself, and became a nurse.
Wow.
So I went to nursing school up in Anchorage, Alaska. I really enjoyed my nursing education. I made some really amazing friends, and it's a good community of people up there. I graduated in 2014 and worked. I've worked for pretty much one facility most of my nursing career. I've done a little side jobs here and there, but started out in the float pool, which is a great place for new grads because you just get to experience everything. So, so I did that, and I got into the ER. I oriented down in the ER as a float pool nurse and was like, oh my God, I love this. I love being an ER nurse. So I did the ER for a few years, and then, kind of crashed and burned with ER nursing. Got into, I took a break from traditional bedside nursing and became the nurse recruiter for the hospital, and to help started recruiting nurses into the hospital. But then they did away with that job. They had a big reorganization, decided that wasn't a valuable position.
It's like, ma'am, thanks.
Right.
What?
They were like, well, you can keep the position, but you're going to be hiring all the kitchen staff and
interesting.
Housekeepers. And I'm like, no, that's not really what I'm a nurse.
Yeah.
I want to be talking to nurses specifically.
Yeah.
And so that's when I got into becoming a house supervisor, and I have done that for a little over 5 years, and that I think is my favorite nursing job that I've had. It has its highs, high highs and low lows, but as far as doing the work that I really like to do, being that resource for people and helping people and kind of growing people, that is my passion.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a nice career path for anybody that's interested in doing something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to float nursing, I totally agree. New grads, if there is a position for float for them, well, I guess it could be hard. How did they orient you?
So back then, they had a pretty robust new grad residency program. So they put you through new grad residency, and then I got 2 weeks on each floor, and it's a smaller hospital, 170 beds. I mean, they can get pushed into, we can push people anywhere, so
of course.
A lot of beds, but like 2 weeks on each of like the main floors for the like med surg orientation, and then once you're like a year or two in and comfortable, they'll start orienting you to some of the specialties. And so ER was my first like specialty going.
Wow.
And then I decided to go to that career path. But yeah, as a new grad, you learn so much, and you get part of the float pool program that they had was also being a SWAT nurse, which is like the nurses that round and do a lot of the skills and just help out wherever. So that is an excellent way to like really hone in like all of those skills. Like, you know, you become like one of the best IV starters like in the whole house, like really quickly.
Because you have to.
Because you have to. Yeah, you're the one that finds, you know, gets that Foley place that is the impossible Foley. You're the one that places the NG that can't get in. So it's a really cool position if anybody has that opportunity to do that, and it's pretty rewarding because you get to like help your nurses. Like they're super excited to see you come and take a task off their hands. So
absolutely, like I'm sure most of us have been short staffed, and then the moment anyone walks through those doors to help, I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, somebody that can like start your blood for you like that, like much.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
15 minutes that I get back to do something else, you know.
Do Alaska hospitals, do they have unions?
Some of them do. Not the one that I worked at, but there are some hospitals with unions.
I just randomly thought of that because I am from Oklahoma and from like very anti-union area, and then when I moved to California I was like, why are we anti-union? These are great, they can have breaks and ratios and all of this stuff's really mandatory. So that random thought came into my head. I totally agree with you though on if a new grad has a position or has the opportunity to take a position like that, it's such a, I would say rare, but like golden goose, like definitely do that.
Yeah. Especially if you're going to go into, you know, something higher acuity, and really having that skill set like honed in is really, really nice. Like being able to start the really hard IVs. That is like, you're like the gold star. One caveat though that I found that and I struggled with is that you, as a float nurse, you don't see the continuity of care because you could be floated to different departments all over the hospital. And so as a new grad going into that type of position, you're not caring for that person 3 days in a row. So it's really hard to kind of pick up and just be like, okay, like this is the care I'm going to give, and not really like, it's hard to connect some of those dots. As you go forward. So that's just one of my like things that I say, like, you know, pay attention to the lab work and pay attention to the trends and pay attention to like what the nurse charted on the day before and what they like look at their care plan, because you're not, as a new grad, it's hard to put those like big picture things together in those like aha moments when you're just getting like tossed around the hospital. Yeah,
for sure. That was actually a question I was going to have next, because I do think I started in the ICU and I typically did 3 days in a row, and for me that worked really, really well because I got to see, well, when someone came in and then kind of like a settling point, and then I had them for one more day, and it was like I could see trends easier that way. And so like what you're saying is they might come in every single shift as something brand new or new patient, and so that could be a con, but you still gain so much experience in other ways that could be utilized on any specialty. So that's cool.
Absolutely. In that hospital's float pool program, like we had RNs that could go float over into mother baby, they could float into peds, they could go to the ER, they could go to the ICU, they could go to PACU. So it was really cool.
That is cool, because I do wish I had experience in other specialties like that. Like I've definitely been floated to tele and med surg, but I want to be floated to like ER as an ER nurse, not an ICU hold. I want to go to like L&D just to dabble in it, but I can't because I have like zero experience in any of it. I'm like, maybe not.
My only like L&D experience was like when I was in the ER, there was a baby that was born like in the parking lot, and like I was in the triage box that day, and I like went out and like didn't grab anything. I think I grabbed a towel.
Oh no!
Like ran out, and she's like holding her baby like in like the seat of the car, and I was like, here's your towel.
Maybe this can help.
Can we please get this woman a gurney and get her inside and away from me, because I don't know what to do.
A super unique experience. So not that I want it to happen to a patient, but like if it does happen, I want to be there so I can experience it and like learn.
Birth is such a crazy thing.
And of course it happened in the ED.
Of course.
You always hear like the trauma from like an ED nurse getting an L&D patient,
Yeah.
like someone in labor, and then they're like immediately calling Lindsey, where are you guys? Can you come get this patient?
Right.
Get them out of here.
We're really good at holding the elevator. So.
Don't worry. That's hilarious.
We will get you right on up there.
What did you like? Since we're kind of doing pros and cons, what are pros and cons of ER?
So the pro is that you get to experience so much, and you really get the best and the worst of people, and I don't know, it's just like you can profoundly make a difference, and you can do that with all nursing. But in an ER setting, when people are coming in, it's like they're like the worst day of their life. Normally, it's like. Some people, it's their normal day, like they just come in every day. But, but for a lot of people, it's like they're coming to the ER for a true emergency. And if you're that first point of contact that says, like, you're going to be okay, we have you, and we're going to provide you with the resources that you need and the help that you need, you really get that chance to I don't know, just like really help somebody and make them feel a little better, get that like panic out of their eyes. It's like a new mom that comes in because like her kid probably needs to like be bulb suctioned, and she just doesn't really know how to do it. And she's coming in and her baby looks scary, or she's worried, but being able to tell her like, no, it's okay, like you just do this and they're good.
You can relieve a lot of their worries. Essentially.
Absolutely. And then some of the cons. The cons of ER nursing revolve around the healthcare system not being set up to manage the like psych patients. Like I don't know of any hospital that has an ER that can manage psych patients very well. I know some hospitals have like a psych ER, but the ones that I've worked, like the one that I worked at, just really didn't. And so we'd hold like psych patients for days and days and days in an ER setting where the energy is just like
chaotic a bit.
Chaotic and bad, and it doesn't help anybody, and we're not really giving them like the treatment that they need or the help that they need. And then just I think the other con to being in the ER is the violence that takes place in an ER setting. And violence can happen anywhere in the hospital, but it seems to be very prevalent in the ER because we're dealing with the psych patients, and a lot of the times it's those patients that are going to act out in a violent way. And so you really have to be careful, being mindful of your space, and not intruding into somebody that's escalating like space so that you get hurt.
I actually did a workplace violent, like, I don't know, it was like a seminar. Me and my husband went and we moved here May 12th. Then like 2 days later, we went to Torrance for a week and learned, this is going to sound violent, but it's not. So let me explain. We learned a jiu-jitsu based course on how to safely handle patients, both like to protect them and you. And it's kind of one of those things that I think a lot of times our administrators, like if we get hit or something, they're like, well, why were you that close? How were you in range for them to grab you? Or because care is like the danger zone.
I'm starting an IV on them.
Right.
Like,
I'm going to be
in their space.
Right. Arm's length away from them. And sometimes it is something simple like they consented, okay, yes, to an IV, and then you poke them and all of a sudden they're upset. Or it could be a plethora of other things, but you're in their bubble because you have to be as a healthcare worker. But then sometimes admin will be like, no, just stay an arm's length away. These things that aren't realistic. And it's like, that doesn't work like that. So this program taught us like how to safely defend yourself from hair grabs, chokes, choking you with a stethoscope, how to get out of it, like all these things. And I'm like, it's 2025 and we're just now coming up with a program for this. A, I'm excited, but B, I'm like, just now? Like, that's crazy. But it was kind of teaching us like managing the distance is managing the damage. And so there's like a green zone, a red zone. I'm getting really into it, but I'm excited because you said something about like we don't have a lot of resources available to teach us how to manage patients like this. And it's not that we want to like I don't want to do any of these little things with them. It doesn't hurt them, but it's just scary for both of us to be in a position of like feeling like it's fight or flight. But they're starting to implement this program into hospitals. It's called Gracie Medical Defense, and it's really cool. It's like the first time I've seen something that I'm like, oh, this could work, because it keeps both of us safe the whole time.
Yeah, that's really cool. So that's exciting to see.
I
feel like I've seen some other classes that are kind of similar to that, and then I've seen some really bad classes that are like,
unrealistic.
Just, make sure to keep your palms up so you don't look threatening.
What? That, and like, don't be in between the patient and the wall, but your scanner's in the back corner, and you're like, well, who set this room up?
Yeah.
Not someone who made that program. Like, it just doesn't ever make sense.
Right.
So I'm hoping there's like change and help along the way. Help is on the way, dear. That's like what I think.
Right.
But transitioning over to House Supervisor.
Yeah.
I've never had a house soup on here. To people that don't know what that is, what is that? What's your role?
So it's basically resource management. It's an operations type of supervisory role. The best part is you don't have anybody that it's in my hospital, or the hospital that I worked at, I didn't have anybody that was under me. So I wasn't managing anybody. I was managing the flow of the hospital and the resource, divvying out the resources. So that could be really, really great, and it can also be really, really bad, and it depends on your administration and what they're willing to give up as far as resources go, because you're the one that looks at the staffing for the whole hospital and making sure that everybody is staffed appropriately for the patients that they have, taking into account acuity. You're the customer service person. You're the first person that gets to go and put your face in front of an angry patient. Especially, like, I worked nights for like 10 years, so it was like kind of me, it was like it. We'd have an administrator on staff that would be like on call, but in the middle of the night, and they have to work during the day, so you do have to respect people that they just can't be up like
24 hours a day.
Yeah, that's not right. But I feel like the pros of it are really cool, because you really get to like know what's going on in the whole hospital. Like, so I got to see everything. I got to see everything from all of the social stuff going on in peds, all of the, the hard things going on in the ICU, organizing the end of life walk.
Oh, yeah.
The honor walks.
Honor walk. Yeah.
So you organize that. It's just everything that happens in the hospital. So you get this like really great like global picture of how a hospital should run. But then you also get a picture of like, okay, this is how a hospital should run. Why aren't we running like this? And why don't I have the resources to give out?
Oh, interesting.
So like staffing. When I'm short staffing already, I go into night shift and I know that morning is going to be short. Like, how am I supposed to get somebody to come in? I'm calling them at 10 o'clock at night. Are they going to come in at 6 in the morning? Like, probably not.
You're like,
so, this place used to have a really like robust, like, they called it critical staffing pay, CSP, and they could up the staffing pay depending on like the needs of the hospital. And so it would start at like, $300 and then work its way up to 600, and then it could go up to 900, just depending. So they would pay to get people in, because you're paying for like what their time is worth. Maybe it's their 4th or 5th shift in a row, and this is what my time is worth away from my family and friends, and away from my sleep, and away from my self-care. But then as the hospital changed over, like the COVID money ran out, that money dried up, and that it could be very, very challenging to get any type of incentive pay approved, even though they know they're going to run short. And so those are some of the things that you have to really think of, because at the end of the day, you're the messenger giving that out. You're the one calling that floor and saying, hey, you're not going to have any CNAs in the morning, or you're going to be down a nurse. Your charge nurse is going to have to take patients.
Do people take it out on you?
I would always just say, this is what I have. I don't have anything. Like, there's no closet full of nurses, I promise you. Like, there's nobody else. I worked really well with my charge nurses and the nurses on the floor, and I think they understood that like it's not me, like this doesn't come from me, like I'm not the one that's like, haha, this fifth floor doesn't get their nurses.
So evil.
I'm gonna give the 4th floor more nurses. It just was what it was, and they understood that, and I think nurses are smart enough to understand that. And they would ask, like, are they approving any type of incentive pay? And you would just, I would be like, honestly, no, like they're not approving it today, and I don't know why. They won't give me an answer, or the administrator won't get back to me. And this was a changeover from in the organization. So kind of going back a little bit, when your organization, when you work in healthcare, you will notice that your organization will change over its executive leadership team again and again and again. They'll last about 2 years, maybe 3, and then it'll change over. And so there is always a different vision and mission once that executive leadership team turns over. So sometimes it's going to be very like retention based. That's going to be their new mission. And so they're going to retain nurses. They're going to throw money at them. They're going to allow them to have extra staff on the floor. Then they're going to change over in a few years. And then the next set of people that are going to come in are going to be very budget based. And so that's when the cuts start happening.
It's back and forth.
It's back and forth, yeah. There's never, I don't know of a hospital that you have longevity as a leader, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that happens anymore.
So it's just so interesting because you said like allow them to have extra staff on the floor. I'm like, allow us? That's just so crazy. That's how they run though, admin.
Yeah.
Like it's like, what do you mean allow us? Just fully staff us, damn it.
Right.
You know, like,
right. Or like maybe the acuity is just really high. Maybe there's a ton of total cares on that floor and they need an extra nurse. Maybe they need 2 extra CNAs just to help with all the turns and feeds and all of the things that go into a total care patient. Not just because they're like subacute and probably don't belong in the hospital. You know, we just don't have like a bed for them anywhere else, but they're going to stay there. Doesn't mean that they don't take up, like they almost take up more resources.
Yeah.
Than like your like traditional like turn and burn like appies and colies and, you know, the people that just need like, you know, a little bit of nursing care for a little bit of time.
Right. I think I don't really want to call them a friend, but I have a friend who doesn't get nursing like at all. And quite honestly, it's really sad to see because I'm like, how can you listen to us and what we're saying and it just goes in one ear and out the other? That's something we've said I've mentioned to them before is why total care patients are nothing against the patient, but if you are not properly staffed for them, it's a hassle. It's so hard to be the best nurse you can be when you don't have the resources. And so a total care patient could be 4-6 people turning this person and cleaning this person, and every time they might have a bowel movement and maybe they don't get the Flexi-Seal and they don't get all that, you know, and it's like so frustrating as a nurse, and stuff like that can really burn us out.
Yeah. And it's bad for the patient.
It's really bad for the patient.
It's really bad because you're going to, you're going to look at like your acuity on your floor. And if you have a really sick patient, your total care is not going to get the care that they need. They're going to miss a turn. Maybe they don't get the wound care that they need that shift. Maybe, you know, something, the TPN like runs dry, God forbid.
Right.
Like there's things that can happen with a total care patient that if you're not staffed appropriately, it's going to end in a bad outcome for them. And a lot of those bad outcomes are some of the like the standards set forth by like JCO and CMS, and they won't pay for it if that happens if a patient falls in a hospital. They're not going to pay for the care related to the fall,
which is just so interesting because once again, are there standards for, like, let's say, well, if the fall happens and they get hurt, they're not going to pay for it, but were we properly staffed for that?
Yeah. What I would say to your friend that doesn't understand nursing is that they're going to pay the same for their health care no matter how many nurses there are on the floor. So if they have a nurse that has a 1-to-3 ratio, they're going to pay the same as the nurse that has a 1-to-7, 1-to-8, 1-to-9 ratio. It's just what it is. Maybe that floor doesn't have any CNAs. That doesn't get reflected in your bill. You still pay the same amount of money.
Yeah. So like, wouldn't you rather have you pay the same amount for the best amount of care?
Yeah.
You know, more hands on, more eyes on. Like, it just will make your stay better, you know? Yeah. And when there is more like appropriate staffing for whatever's going on in the unit, it creates a better environment for everyone. It's just one of those things I want to shake whoever's making this rule. I'm like, how do you not get it?
How do you not get it? How do you not care to like staff like one more person in this floor just to help us out a little bit, please, God? It's just so interesting that it comes down to like if I have the resources that I need to fulfill my shift, I'll work the extra shifts. Like, I like being a nurse.
Same.
I enjoy the work of it. I enjoyed being in the hospital. And I wouldn't mind picking up the extra shifts because I knew that like things were going to get covered. I was going to be able to do all the things that I wanted to do for my patients, not needed to do, wanted to do. You know, they're going to get that extra bit of care. They're going to get like an ear, you know, so that they can, you know, talk into and spill their guts too. And I like that part of nursing.
I do too.
And I just feel like we're getting so far away from that. It's there's these algorithms and like, oh, well, this patient care model and this and that. And it's like, can we just get back to like caring about people? Can we get back to like the actual care that's involved with people?
Yeah.
Because like we're holistic beings. We need to be cared for like body, mind, and soul and
Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah. It's funny because it's not that deep. It's not that hard to figure out, but they make it so difficult. And then, like you said, I love being a nurse too. Like what I went to school for, I love that. I love the science behind it. I love medications and like feeling like I'm looking at the problem, that not the patient, but the problem they have, and then you get to help create the solution. But with all these boundaries that we have, these blockages, it's like we can't be the best nurse. And like exactly what you said, I won't pick up a shift because I know it's going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
It seems like it's always the extra one. That last one that you're just going to pick up, it's always like the worst one.
Every time you think like, all right, this one will be different, it's always regretted.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was not worth any amount of money.
Yeah. We had this patient that I cared for in the ER, and he just this like adorable guy, and he had like obviously like an acute abdomen and was getting sicker and sicker and sicker by the minute. I mean, we were short staffed, and so we running around doing all the things, caring for like 2 or 3 other patients, but like he's in my trauma room because he's like getting real sick. His blood pressure is like crapping out, and he's on like vasopressors, and we're doing fluids, and I've got the internal medicine doctor down there that's super worried, and she's trying to get him up to surgery. And I remember looking at his like he had these like big googly glasses, and his eyes were just so big through these glasses, and like he's sicker and sicker, and it's taking hours to get him to surgery. And like I finally cleared 2 of my patients so I could focus on him. And then the surgeon comes down, and he's like, okay, like, all right, we're gonna get you to surgery, and like you should be up there within half an hour. And then I was like, sir, is there anything that I can do for you before you go up? Do you need anything else? And he goes, can you call my wife?
Oh.
I was like,
It's like the simple thing.
I didn't even think that you had a family, and that like you're sitting here getting really sick, and you're going to end up in the ICU intubated after this surgery.
He's like, yeah, can somebody call somebody for me?
I didn't even think about it because I was just like, my brain was so filled with like everything else.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it goes back to like this priority list that is kind of beat into us of like ABCs,
Yeah.
and if you don't know what that means, like airway, breathing, circulation. I had to think about it for a second. I was like,
Right.
is it bleeding or is it airway, breathing, circulation?
Yeah.
But you go back to like these priority lists, and this is also when like it upsets family.
Yeah.
And people get really upset at us for things that are very important.
Yeah.
Like combing out their hair, getting the blood out of their hair, calling their wife or whoever. But it's like sometimes our priorities are just so different because we, again, lack all the resources and the things that we truly need to be like the best nurse.
Yeah.
But like, I would have forgot to.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times I've had like an ICU admit and I'm like, has anyone contacted anyone in like, I don't know, 2 days?
Somebody know this person is here.
Yeah. It's like, oh, great. Awesome.
Yeah. So just rounding back to like being a house supervisor, it's a great role. You get to connect with a lot of nurses. You get to make it whatever you want, because especially if you're on nights, you're probably pretty autonomous.
Yeah.
But you can make it into a really fun shift where you can go around and you can, talk to the floors and see what their needs are, and get in touch with like the new grad nurses. I love new grad nurses.
I do too.
Because they just come in there so like sparkly shiny with their like new scrubs and their like clean hair and their makeup.
The clean hair. They're like, excited.
They're like, okay, this is like the troll doll house supervisor coming through. Oh, no. But no, they just have such a spark in their eye for caring for people. And to see that like get burned out so quickly these days, it's really discouraging. And so as a house supervisor, you get to kind of play a role in that person's like if they're going to have good shifts or not.
Yeah.
And if they're really struggling, and that like that floor is up for the next admin, and it's probably that nurse for whatever reason, like karma
Every
works
time.
out, it's gonna be the nurse that's struggling that's up for the next admit. You have the power to be like, okay, let's put a hold on this and like let's get everybody like situated a little bit. So
that's awesome though.
Yeah.
How many phone calls a day do you think you get?
Oh my God. I have PTSD from that. Like we had this it was like a riff on the phone. It was like da na 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 na, like that riff on the phone. Like I would hear it like in my dreams.
Oh my God. So it's like your own phantom alarms.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like just the phone going off.
Yeah, and then it changed, and then we changed it, but like still just like that riff, like I hear that and I'm like, oh. because it's normally not like, it's, yes, the nurses, they have a lot of questions or they need something, but it's like the doctors, and then there's admin, and then, you know, God, like, you know, like, get your chargers from the ER, like, there's a senator in the ER and he's asking questions about what's going on here. Like, oh my God.
You've had to go like talk to them?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Well,
That's so crazy.
You call the admin, you're like, what do you want me to say to this person?
You tell me.
You tell me, like, I'll just be your voice. I'll send the phone over to you.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
You guys said they're VIP, so why don't you show them the VIP treatment?
The VIP, the idea of for your friend that doesn't get nursing, also tell them that the hospitals have assigned themselves board members that they consider VIP. So they're going to get into the ER faster. They're going to get beds faster. And that is like a call, like from the CEO of the hospital calling me and telling me that I have to give this person a bed right away. So I have to bypass 89-year-old like Mima sitting out in the ER waiting room for this toenail infection that comes in, and they get a bed immediately, and they get one of the nicer beds immediately. Mm-hmm. So there is a hierarchy in healthcare that nobody really talks about and nobody knows about. And at the end of the day, we all pay the same.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, respect your healthcare workers.
Right. Why are they VIP? What makes you a very important person
that
gets all of the special treatment when, like, we're just trying to treat everybody the same?
I'll never forget when I was a new grad and I got a VIP patient, which they ended up switching because it wasn't computing for me why I was supposed, which it doesn't compute for any of us, why I'm supposed to drop everything and treat this person better than my other patients when shouldn't they all be treated VIP? Aren't we all VIP? Yeah. Like, it's just one of those things that's like, do you hear yourself? Who made this rule? Like, I don't care.
Explain the ethics behind
Please.
VIP. Just, if you can explain it to me, I'll do it. I'll be your yes man. Just tell me the ethics behind it. Ethics,
yeah. And not that they were a donor, because all I saw that you made a nice little flower bed out front. I don't care about that. Yeah. Like, come on. It drives me nuts. I'm like, what do you mean VIP? I don't care. They get the same treatment.
Such a crazy it's just I didn't understand. I didn't know that there were VIP patients when I went into healthcare either. I was like, what are they talking about?
Yeah, that's actually something, like, as a new grad, this didn't burn me out, but it just was a wake-up call that hospitals are a business at the end of the day. It typically is profit over patients. Yeah. That messed with me so hard whenever I was new, because I was like, why am I having to charge each little, like, some hospitals have like I don't know, like a supply closet, but you have to scan each little thing, versus like and the opposite of that is like a lump sum, whether you used it or not, you get charged for like what typically gets used on the unit. But like having to scan each little thing over and over, and I was like, what? Why? Yeah. Why does this matter?
Especially when you go into the room and they're like getting discharged and you're throwing all that shit away.
Oh, it kills me. The waste in healthcare kills me, but there's no other way around it usually. No. And it's just like, nah.
There was one hospital that I knew about that would like send their like the supplies that like were like relatively clean. They'd like send them off to Africa, which I thought was kind of cool. Like,
well, I like that because at least they're getting used. Yeah. Like anything, even like a homeless shelter where we have like first aid or something to go out to like help people on the streets more, and like wound care, like that'd be cool. But instead we're just like trash it, especially during COVID.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I was like, waste. Don't bring that in the room because it's gonna get trashed. Right. It's so scary. You're still a house supervisor? No. When did you leave?
I left in March this year.
Okay.
Because our hospital changed over, and I was just done. Like I felt burned out. Working night shift for 10 years was really taking its toll on my health, like my mental health, my physical health. And about a year ago, I decided that I wanted out, but I had no idea what to do. And so I started like reaching out to people. I got onto LinkedIn, which is kind of this like, I had no idea what LinkedIn was, but one of my connections that I had made said, get onto LinkedIn. There's a ton of like nurse entrepreneurs and innovators on LinkedIn. And so I did, and she gave me a list of people to connect with, and I started connecting. And I created this like resource hub for nurses, but wasn't making any money at it, just like kind of had this like idea that I wanted to do. And so a year later, like full circle, it's like out, and I quit my job, and this is what I do full time because I just couldn't do it anymore. Like I could not do it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Emily, was through LinkedIn, which is my business partner and like probably my best friend.
If she doesn't know it, now she does. Which we just did an episode with Emily. So you guys, if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to Emily's. Hers is fantastic as well.
I take her somatic nurse coaching class too, so you should join it. It's really, really good. You really start, like, it just helps you process your own behavior and other people's behavior. And you really start, instead of just like reacting, you really just start kind of getting really curious about, like, why do I feel like this?
Yeah.
Why did that person respond like this? Is this coming from a place of trauma, or what is this coming from, you know?
I think it also, something that just clicked for me too, is it makes us more compassionate and brings us back to, like, humans. We're humans at the end of the day that have all been through something. And whenever you understand, again, you have to go listen to Emily's episode so you'll fully understand this, but the somatics, like, once you fully understand that someone's lashing out for a reason, it's not personal, to me it's so much easier to handle them.
Absolutely. If you ever listen to Mel Robbins, it's like, it's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah.
Whatever their response is, it's something that's triggered them. So if you're getting a negative response from somebody, it's something, it's about them. It's probably not about you.
Yeah.
You were responsible for your own behavior, and that's it.
Yeah. Whenever you left and you say, like, I couldn't handle it anymore, like, we've talked a little bit about cons and stuff, but what particular things were you like, yeah, I'm over it, I'm done?
When I reached out to a specific administrator, begging them for any type of help for the next staffing in the morning, and got crickets. They didn't even read it, like, on Tiger Text. And I just was like, that's it, I'm fucking done. They don't care, I don't fucking care, I want out.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It just, and I knew that I needed off of nights, and I knew that, like, my life was, like, I could feel my light. I think Emily said this too, like, your light gets dimmed when you are not taking care of yourself, and, like, when your voice is silenced, when you don't feel like you have a voice, when you don't feel empowered to do the things you want to do with your life, you start dimming. And I just felt like I was like dying inside. Like, you know, we're all dying, but, you know, like I don't know if you're like you're a little bit younger than me, but there was this, like, cartoon. It was called the Last Unicorn, and she, like, unicorn, like, turns into a human, and she's like, I can feel this body dying all around me, and, like, that's what it was like.
Aww.
Like, you just feel like it's like your soul's getting sucked out of you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I'm not happy. I don't feel joy. I work, sleep, and work.
Yeah.
You know,
which sucks, because you say you love nursing, and that's what, if you ask any nurse why they're burnt out or why they're leaving, it has zero to do with the patient care.
Yeah.
Like, caring for a patient. It has zero to do with the actual job of being a nurse, of nursing. Yeah. It's all of the bullshit that goes on behind closed doors, or, like, that the general public doesn't see, that we have to kind of bear the weight of, especially you as a house supervisor. Yeah. And you're asking for help and you get crickets, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me?
You don't care that, like, I'm not going to have, like, any CNAs for any of the floors in the building? Are you kidding me?
Right.
You know, or every floor is going to run short. Like, it put it in such a, like, and to just not even respond. And then sometimes there would be a response, but it would be, like, peppered with, like, just, like, rando questions, like, that don't really amount to anything. Like, they just want to, like, deflect and ask questions. Like, I'm sure there's a reason for the questions, but I didn't understand them, because, like, I'm looking at the moment and I'm seeing that it's 2:00 in the morning and I don't have the staff to cover the hospital. Yeah. So what am I going to do? You know, and I'm not getting any actual help. I'm getting, like, more work and more questions. You know, so. Putting
it back on you once again. Like, I've been saying for a while, I would love to have a hospital admin on here, and I wouldn't be a bitch. I really wouldn't. I have some very hard questions that I just would love answered, or someone who used to be in a hospital admin, because these are the things. It's like, okay, you're asking these questions, there might be a reason, but what is the actual reason, besides deflection, besides taking it out of the bonus that maybe is in their realm? Because, like, incentive pay would make somebody come in, but then when they're like, sorry, there's none today, figure it out. Yeah. No, you're supposed to figure it out.
The people that I worked with before this last round were fantastic. I could reach out and I would get the help I needed. Yeah. I could bring a problem forth, and it would get, like, pushed forward. So I felt like I had a voice, and I felt like a part of the leadership team. And the restructuring of the organization and the new executive leadership team, they essentially like systematically got rid of everybody, like all of the managers, all of the directors, and put in different people that were kind of like yes men to this like new like regime. And this was another like aha moment where it's like, is this what I have to look forward to for my career? Like several of those people, they were my mentors. Like I looked up to them. I thought they were fantastic nurses, fantastic people, and they were like really great to work with. And to watch them get either pushed out or fired or escorted off the campus like was like devastating, because I was like, okay, I have no future here. Like if that can happen to these people, like, and they're like, I'm like in awe of them, like it can happen to me.
Right.
You know? And so I was like, I don't have a future here and I need to make my own future.
Yeah.
And so I started working towards it. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate more now on your business?
Yeah. So, my business is called Nurses for Nurses, and it starts with a platform of resources for nurses. So if you go to nursesfornurses.org, you're going to be met with a web page that has resources that can navigate you to some of our partners, which is our Renegade, which is a class platform, so you can get CEs off of that platform. We've got Moxie Scrubs, so excellent brand for scrubs. Nurses B&B, this is a nurse entrepreneur who made a platform for travel nurses to be able to book housing for like a contract in a B&B system. She actually learned how to code to create this system.
Crazy.
She's amazing, yeah. And then Nurse Foley, which is a platform that has therapists that are like specific to nurses, that they can actually speak specifically to nurses. I'm not saying that right, but like they understand nurses. Like a lot of them have been nurses and have gotten into like the mental health field, and they'll actually accept insurance and stuff. So we're partnered with like some really great people, and we're building more partnerships there. So you'll see those. And then we have a community platform called Heartbeat RN, which is like a hub of entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, and we're creating spaces for nurses that are kind of branching out and wanting to do something different. And so we're working on a project called Dream Lab, which is under construction, but it's basically going to be a hub for like entrepreneurs. So like we'll have marketing experts and how to build a business. And
I love that.
So it's Heartbeat RN is a great place to come in if you are looking for like a nurse coach to help you, or if you've written a book and you want to put it in our Book Nook area and showcase your work there. We can also issue CEs. So we have a CE provider license, so that if you have a course you want to create, we can make that happen for you, and we can get you CEs to be able to give out. And I mean, we can do kind of anything in this platform, and it's this like really like beautiful little community. We just launched it in December, and we've got about 250 members in it right now, and we're growing it and filling it with all of these like entrepreneurs and innovators. So that part's been really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Adney?
Yeah.
Have you been in touch with Anthony?
I haven't met with him specifically, but I would love to. I think that the platform that he built is really cool, because it's like Amazon for healthcare workers. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
He works a lot, though. I could connect you with him, because I think both of your businesses would flow so well with him. And you're right, like it's literally like a marketplace for nurses or any healthcare worker essentially, but there's always he loves collaborating with other nurse entrepreneurs, which I love Anthony so much. He's such like a go-getter, and he is always cheering for everyone. So I think that'd be a good connection.
I love that so much. It just seems like the people that I've connected with, we're all kind of within like the first few years in business, and it's like this very like kumbaya type of like, we're like all ships rise together.
Yeah.
You know, like we're all there to support each other. We all like each other's content and try to like grow each other. And I think that in the next like 5 years, you're going to see these brands become like major brands in nursing, because we've all kind of pitched in and helped each other out.
Yeah.
And then the other part of my business is Modern Nurse Fest, which is like the most exciting part.
Yes.
So I met Emily on LinkedIn. She put a Modern Nurse Fest online together. She did it in 2 months, got 300 people to show up and 24 speakers. So that is like speaks to the power of Emily. She's incredible. So I got in touch with her, and I was just like so inspired because she let me speak at it. And it was like really one of my first like speaking things, and was like just like terrified, like to go in and like talk about all the businesses within like the Nurses for Nurses platform. And then I started looking at like what she had built. I was like, it would be so cool if we did this like in real life and we brought it to Alaska, because Alaska, we don't have nursing conferences really. Like there's little conferences here and there, but there's really nothing that like celebrates and supports nurses up there. So we just started like brainstorming ideas, and then it just kind of it's slow rolled into this like huge snowball where now we have Modern Nurse Fest Anchorage, which is coming up September 25th and 26th. And then next year we've got 4 conferences, festivals scheduled for all over the US. So
that is so cool.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
For people that haven't listened to Emily's episode yet, tell them a little briefing on what's the difference, because you said at first you said conferences and you're like festivals, because it's not a conference.
It's not a conference, it's a festival, and it's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to celebrate you as a nurse. So we've got a variety of different topics. I've got like almost 25 presenters, maybe 26, coming up to talk about everything from entrepreneurship, marketing your business, creating a brand, to wellness, holistic wellness. We have a mind and body area where we'll have like mini yoga classes and sound bowl healing and meditations. Then we have an exhibitor area where the community is welcome to come in. So it's an exhibitor hall and career fair to showcase like what nurses do and just the different like things that nurses are doing. I've got exhibitors coming from I've got a ketamine clinic coming. I've got people that deal in like THC in the healthcare practice, and then just like everything across the board, the armed services. It's just kind of snowballed into like all of these like really cool things that you can do with your nursing career. And the idea is not to pull nurses away from the bedside. It's just to give them like some inspiration that there is more out there. And if you start a business, or maybe you start you do some coaching, or you teach a class, and maybe that provides you with like a little bit more income so that you're not having to pick up that extra shift. You can just work and kind of create something on your own. Yeah. And when we get into like that creator mode, that's where like, I don't know, like the magic happens. Like that's where like you really like open up and you just, I don't know, it's like there's freedom and creativity.
There really is. Yeah. And I feel like when you do it with other people too, it's just such a collaborative thing that you don't see all the time. Yeah. Especially in healthcare, there can be egos, but whenever everyone's coming to the same place for the same reason, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing though is that you are opening it up to the general public.
Yeah.
Because they don't really get what we do for the most part.
Yeah, it's a community festival. It's because nurses have families, and think about how many times where a nurse has to like leave her family to go to work, like it's all the time, or leave her kids to go pick up that extra shift, or like not be able to answer a call from their kids. We need to start realizing that like nurses have families, and like it's okay to show our families out there, and and to celebrate the families of nursing too. So we're working on like a little kids health fair like within the exhibitor hall, so that there's like stuff for kids to do, so that way you can bring your kids to this festival, because it's not a stuffy fucking conference. Yeah.
I'm so excited for that. That's just so cool. I really have not heard of anything like that, and I've been to a few conferences now. I won't name them, but a few conferences, and they all typically feel the same. Like they can be very expensive sometimes, and I'm like, I'm just a nurse.
Right. And it is expensive to put on a conference, and that's why we're working for like strategic partnerships, because part of our sponsorship program includes scholarships for nurses, and so the more sponsors that we get, we can be able to provide like free access for the nurses to take the education.
Yes.
We are hoping to have anywhere between 25 and 30 CEs available through this conference. You're not going to be able to get through all, not conference, festival.
It is a festival.
So for the festival, there's going to be a lot of CEs. So you can get your CEs for your full 2 years.
Yeah.
And then if you can't get through them all during the festival, you'll be able to access them on the Renegade platform, which is really cool. And then people that didn't get a chance to go to the conference, maybe they're working, they can buy the festival through Renegade to
That's
be able
cool.
to get all the classes in too. So
Yeah, because I think a lot of the conferences don't allow you to do, if you didn't come, you don't get it. And if you didn't get to come at all, like there's no way online to get those specific CEs.
We want you to have the education. We want as many nurses to have this like education as possible. And the nurses that I have speaking, like I just have this like incredible like variety. We've got a nurse that's going to be talking about the neurobiology of nursing and like what it does to your brain and like what trauma processing, what it does to like how to process that trauma. So a lot of like self-care type of things, and then the biohacking part of it, like putting the science behind self-care is really kind of at the end of the day what biohacking is. It's like, okay, yes, we know we need to drink water and we know we need to breathe, but like why do we need to drink water? Because like our brain depletes when we're dehydrated, and like it can deplete at like so many like, you know, depletions per hour. So a lot of stuff about yourself as a holistic being and being able to take care of yourself. A lot of great entrepreneurs out there that are going to come in and talk about, like I said, how to market your brand, how to grow a brand, how to even create a business. Like one of them's like, so you want to create a business? And that's what she's going to talk about. And she's amazing. She's created, I'm not going to say this right, but like a PRN platform for nurse staffing that basically takes like HR out of the picture. So it's really innovative. I saw it at the Vive conference, which was in Tennessee earlier this year. And she's created this as like, and she's gotten like investors and stuff. So she's been gotten people to like actually invest in her app and her web development, which I just think is like so cool. Because how do you even do that? Like, how do you do that? How do you start a business and then go talk to somebody and have them give you money to do that business?
Right. How do you like, get that money?
Yeah. So she's going to come in and talk about that, which I just think is wonderful. I've got people we're going to talk about taboo topics. We're going to talk about psilocybin and ketamine for mental wellness, for mental health. We're going to talk about THC, and as a THC nurse and what that means. So those are topics that we don't focus on a lot, and we don't really like in a traditional healthcare setting, but there's stuff that we really need to know and we need to understand, because it's not going away. It's becoming more and more prevalent as more and more states kind of open their eyes a little bit to what these medicines can actually do for people, and we should be learning about them, because at the end of the day it can save us money, it can save us ER time. Think about like a psych patient that goes into the ER and sits there for days on end in that environment. Well, maybe they just needed like a little bit of like low dose ketamine, at a ketamine infusion center. Yeah. I just talked to one of the nurse that is the nurse practitioner that's coming to talk about ketamine for mental health. And she sees a lot of vets that come to her, and she's like, yeah, the VA doesn't, like, it's hit or miss if they pay for it. And she'll give it for free because she knows that they need it. And she's like, I have the answer, like, and it helps them, and I'm watching it help them. Yeah. So those are the people that we're trying to like lift up and put out there into the world and say, like, these people are good people and they're trying to do good things for the community. Yeah. So
I think that's really cool. I mean, like you said, it's another form of medicine. Yeah. It's holistic. And something really cool about marijuana in healthcare is that it can be used for so many different things. Yeah. It's definitely still a taboo topic, but I feel like the more we talk about it, the more we learn about it. And you were talking about strains earlier.
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of science behind the different like strands of THC. So the different strands will affect different things in your mental like well-being. So it's not just like, I go smoke weed and I feel calm. It's like it's like a type of medicine that is helping. And we do, as an ER nurse, like, we all have seen the cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. And so there's a lot of pause about that. But like, think about all the alcohol withdrawal that you see that is like, I mean, they throw up more. So.
Right. Pick one. Yeah. But I mean, it's true with overuse of anything, you're going to have adverse side effects. So, absolutely. But it doesn't mean that it's always bad.
Yeah. I can name like pretty much any drug that you take. Like if you take too many Prilosec, you're going to probably throw them up.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Anything that you overconsume, you're going to like, it's going to have an adverse effect. So
Exactly.
I think that nurses should know what's out there. And there's really cool career paths. Some of the nurses that we have speaking are certified like cannabis nurses. And so they have more knowledge on what cannabis does to your body than anybody that I've ever like talked to. I was like blown away. I was like, I feel dumb.
It's like, oh, I didn't know that was...
I did not know that there was so much that goes into this.
But that's exciting. That's like the exciting part of it all.
Yeah, because we just get to keep learning and growing. And the more we learn, I think that the more we learn and the more we grow from what we've learned from, this is like going off on a tangent, but I just think that's going to help open us up to like a better future for like everybody in healthcare. You know?
Absolutely.
I feel like these next generation of nurses, they're going to be more open to learning like more taboo things and learning about like the whys behind them, because there's so much like interesting science behind it. But I also think this next generation coming up of nurses are not going to put up with the bullshit. Like they're getting out of it. Like they're like, why would I work here?
I know.
Why would I be gaslit and just like run down and I feel bad and I can't do the care that I want? Like they're not going to stand for it.
No. And like we said before, I mean, it's going to have to crumble, unfortunately, before it gets rebuilt. In my opinion, because it's already crumbling and they're not listening. So I'm like, oh, okay. Then.
Yeah, it's always been, I mean, if you look at any type of government, and healthcare is so tightly wound into government. If you look at any type of government program, it's always reactive. It's never proactive. We don't have any, like, there is nothing for like preventative care really. Like, I mean, yes, you can go and get like your physicals and stuff like that and your teeth cleaned and some things, but there's no, like, why aren't we looking at our food systems and looking at all the poisons out there? Like, you think about all the detergents and cleaners and all of the different chemicals all over our households, and it's like, okay, it's just a little bit of this, it's just a little bit of this, it's just a little bit of this, but when it's in every single thing, every single product, and it's sprayed all over your fruits and vegetables, and it's in every single like packaged meal, and you can't even drink water out of a plastic bottle anymore because of the micro.
It's like something in everything.
You can't consume or do anything without there being some sort of poison in it. So we're being poisoned at like a pretty high level if you think about it all as a big picture.
Something else to tack onto that, because there's a lot of people that still don't believe in that. There is a much higher rate of colon cancer in young people, 20s to 30 years old, and by the time they catch it, it's in stage 3 or stage 4. The only, from what I've read, the only real pinpoint is the food that we've been eating for years that has been poisoned, essentially.
Yeah, you can't even get, it's really hard to even get seeds that don't have like pesticides that have been like passed down through like the generation of that plant. So you have to go to like heirloom seed places, and still those are kind of dubious on whether they're whether they actually have the poisons in them or not. Like, there's like forever poisons that are all over our environment, and we're not really doing anything about it. We're just continuing to like poison people. Like, and people didn't know they don't know any better, they don't really understand that, like, there's all of these like foods out there. Our grocery stores are filled with foods and snacks and Pop-Tarts and all sorts of delicious foods, but
I do love a Pop-Tart.
I do love a strawberry Pop-Tart.
This is my kryptonite.
I know, especially like 3:00 in the morning right out of the vending machine.
My favorite.
Microwave that,
It's game over.
I know. But it's just junk food, and it's making us really sick. So.
I'm with you. Well, what's next? What is next for you guys?
So next up is it's focusing on Modern Nurse Fest. It's focusing on growing our Heartbeat platform and getting that launched to be able to service as many nurses as we can, however we can. We've got communities in there too, which I didn't really touch on. We've got a community called Sober Shift, which is a space for nurses that are trying to it's not like AA for nurses, but it's just like a shift from like any type of addictive behavior, and it's going to talk a lot about, like, it's going to bring a lot of somatics into it. Emily's going to be spearheading it, and I'm going to help as much as I can. But it's going to be like celebrating the wins and forgiving ourselves for our losses and just trying to create like healthier patterns.
I just love that. Yeah. I love that you guys are bringing so much like true community, and you really mean it.
Yeah.
You're bringing people in to be there for each other.
Absolutely. Because that's the only way we're gonna, that's like, we have the numbers. Like if you look at any like type of like war, it's the numbers that win.
Yeah.
So like we have the numbers to win this, and we have the numbers to change healthcare and the future of nursing. We just have to stand up and we have to rise up. And it's because we don't do this is because it's a woman-dominated career field, and we've been so oppressed for so many years, you know, and it's if this was a male-dominated career field, it wouldn't be like this.
No, it really wouldn't. That it's just fact at this point.
Yeah, and we've got some great like male nurses. Like
absolutely,
I love male nurses. Like
absolutely.
They're incredible. There's actually a group on LinkedIn called MAN, and it's like Men's Association. I think they changed the name, but it's like it's a support group for male nurses, and it talks a lot about like what it means to be a nurse and having a male nurse and having that like extra pressure on you, like having to do the extra heavy lifting, having to go take care of the violent patient, and what that means, and like and being, and they dive into like what that means for your family. And so there's a lot of community in nursing, and there's a lot of really great groups out there.
Yeah, it's funny because I always say like nursing was never my plan A, and it's always been my plan B, but the longer I'm in it, and mostly with the networking and like people I meet like you, like I'm like, oh yeah, it's not just about Bedside.
Yeah.
And it's about so much more. Like we all connect so deeply because we know exactly what each other are going through, and it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's not the goal of this all is not to pull nurses away from the bedside. It's to create a brighter future for what that bedside can look like.
Exactly.
We want nurses to stay at the bedside. When I was a new grad, like I leaned heavily on like my experience like nurses, and then when I transitioned out of that corporate healthcare system, the experienced nurses were like the ones that had like less than 5 years.
Yeah.
So it just like all of the ones that had been there so long were gone.
Yeah.
And like we're just creating like you can't know everything, and you know what is that, the Bennett model? It's the novice to expert model, and it's like it has years in it that takes you so long to get to expert, and we're telling them that they're like the charge nurse or they're the manager, and they're not an expert, and they can't help, and they don't know what they're doing.
No. And it's scary.
And it's nothing on them. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
But then you're being put in these like positions where they like you're almost forced to like do these like manager or charge nurse role when you're not ready.
It's honestly crazy. Like once you start thinking, you're like, they're 6 months old and they're the charge nurse.
Yeah.
Not shitting on them. I'm like, I'm scared for them. That's not cool. you know?
It's not fair.
No.
And like what happens when something goes wrong and you know you're responsible.
Yeah.
You know, like that is scary.
Do you want to end on a lighter note?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I get listener write-ins. A lot of new grads write in, and they're really fun stories. They send their like embarrassing new grad stories. Yes. So let me pick one.
I actually have one.
You have one?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll tell yours at the end.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Hey, Lindsey. Have 2 new grad stories that will haunt my thoughts forever. 1, I had a frequent flyer come in that was on CWA for alcohol withdrawal. He had scheduled lactulose, and when I went to administer it, he asked me, "Am I supposed to drink all of this?" I said, "Yep, just take it like a shot," which is what I always say and wasn't thinking in the context of the situation. My face instantly fell. His face instantly fell. We both made awkward eye contact, and he started sobbing. I tried to calm him down, but I was unsuccessful. He asked me why I would throw his addiction right in his face before he kicked me out of his room. That one's like, so you didn't mean that at all. Like, I would have said something like that. Take it like a shot. And then you're like,
I'm just trying to be the fun, cool nurse.
I know. And most times, too, like, patients will just laugh with you. But this guy was clearly going through it. But, I mean, it happens to the best of us.
Right.
I have one more from her, too. Second story. It was my first day in the hospital as a nurse. My preceptor asked me to take a stool sample to the lab. On my way back, I decided to take a shortcut and take the only and one of 2 elevators in the entire hospital, patient transport elevator, back up to my unit. There was a congregation of people standing waiting to get on, nursing students, doctors, etc. I was talking to one of the hospitalists, and the group of us got into a conversation and didn't realize the doors had opened. I caught the door with my foot so we could all catch a ride. Unfortunately for me, the door did not open back up. Before I knew it, my foot started reaching towards the heavens, and I was almost mid-split. I couldn't wiggle my foot. I couldn't wiggle my foot out of the door. One of the hospitalists had to grab me by my torso and yank me back. We both fell. The next issue, my shoe was still stuck. The elevator alarm starts going off. It took 3 nursing students to yank my shoe out of the death grasp of this elevator. The elevator alarm went off and the elevator doors never opened back up. No one from the group said a word. I did the walk of shame back to my unit and kept what had happened to myself. About an hour later, transport came by to grab a patient, and I could hear him cussing under his breath. I asked him what was going on, and he responded that his transport times were off because there was only one working elevator now because he heard some dumbass nurse broke the elevator with her foot. I kept my mouth shut. The elevator was broken for 3 weeks, and every hospitalist kept my secret.
Oh my God, this poor nurse thinking that that's her fault. Like, that is a bad elevator.
I know.
Like, that's not your fault.
Also, how did you break your foot?
Like, you're lucky, like, you're a lot. I mean, honestly, like,
there was a doctor decapitated this way.
Yeah.
So, like, not to be bringing it dark again, but it's like, damn.
Yeah, that's not your fault.
That's not your fault at all. It's honestly hilarious.
That's a bad elevator. You should contact somebody about that.
Maybe like bring up like I could sue and see what happens.
Yeah.
What was your nursing?
PTSD from elevators.
No, literally.
I wouldn't be able to get on one.
Like, I don't know how her foot didn't break.
Oh my gosh. So more of like as a new nurse in the ER, we talked earlier about like space, like being aware of your spaces and like not being trapped and stuff. Yeah. And so we had this patient that came in and he was in like end stage liver failure, and he had when you're in end stage liver failure, like your belly is like full of ascites, and he had this like really bad like fistula like in the middle of his stomach from his last like paracentesis. It just never healed, and so the doctor wanted to tap him again and pull the fluid out because he was really uncomfortable. We also had like a really bad cough. So I'm getting all the stuff ready, and there's the wall to the, like, we had bays, like, so bay 1 through 6. So wall, me, Mayo stand, and then the gurney. So I am like trapped between like the Mayo stand, the wall, and then the back wall and the gurney. So I'm in this little box. And so the Mayo stand's got all the stuff, and I'm just standing there. The doctor like has his own Mayo stand with his supplies, and he takes the Band-Aid off, and the guy goes, ugh, pulls in on himself and starts coughing really hard. Oh, no. And sprays ascites fluid, and I'm like trapped, and it goes like from it literally like showered all over me. It was horrific. And one of the techs, and I'm like new, and this is like my first week as an ER nurse.
That's so bad, dude.
It was awful. One of the techs comes in and like takes a towel and throws it over the guy, and I'm like, don't cry. You cannot cry in this environment. They do not accept criers.
Oh no. I would be bawling. Instant, like.
And then the charge nurse was like, you should go home.
Did you get to go home?
Yeah.
Because what are you going to do? You need a shower.
Yeah.
Vomit, maybe.
Yeah, it was so horrific. But you learn, like, okay, have an escape route at all
line
times.
Of fire.
Never trap yourself between the patient. Like, get a way to get out of there.
Anytime something can spray on you, and it only takes one time.
Oh yeah.
Very similarly, when I was a new grad, we were cleaning a trach. My very first real trach to clean. I was so excited. Respiratory was in there teaching me. They failed to mention, which I kind of think was on purpose, that there is a line of fire. Do not put your face over the trach. What did I do? Put my body over the trach. He coughed, and it landed here I could feel it sliding down, and I was like, and they're like awake. So I'm like, please, no. So it happens to the best of us.
It sure does.
And you only do it once.
Yeah, for sure. I have a second story.
Oh, please tell.
So this is like new grad, like on the floor. We had this little old lady, and she was getting her like Lovenox injections. Well, what I didn't realize about little old ladies is that when they have big boobs, their boobs go downward. Like their boobs are flat and straight down. And so her boobs were tucked into her pants, And so I go to give the Lovenox injection, and I'm like pinching the skin, and it just doesn't feel right. And she's like, "Why are you pinching my boob?"
I realized where that was going. I was like, no.
I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Well, lady, I mean, at least tell me your boobs are tucked into your pants. It's fine. Just let us know.
At least I didn't give the injection.
I was gonna say, like, what
would
if?
happen? Like, I mean, it's in the fat.
I think she'd be fine. It just like wouldn't be the best. You'd be like, oops.
Don't bring that nurse back in here.
That's honestly hilarious, though. Yeah. It's like the things we go through, and again, you learn. Yeah. You're just like, okay, you just got to move on.
Yeah. My boobs will always be on the outside of my pants.
Maybe that's the lesson here.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep your boobs not tucked into your pants.
Your boobs into your
please. Well, thank you so much for doing this. It's been a joy having you and Emily here to do your podcast episodes. Where can everyone find you?
nursesfornurses.org or modernnursefest.org.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have that. You're welcome. I'm going to have that in the description, so it's easy click for you guys. Definitely give them a click, look into what they're into, and look at Modern Nurse Fest, because I think it's going to be really cool.
It's going to be so cool. We're next year we're going to be Florida, Orlando, Sacramento, Boston, and Houston. So, and tickets are for sale right now. So you can get your ticket right now, get ready to go. And
so cool.
It's going to be super fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm thinking I'm going to go. So I can't wait.
You have to go. It'd be great.
Well, thank you again. And until next time, bye guys.